Hey guys, welcome to part 3 of this tutorial, and in this tutorial we're going to go ahead and program in the edit function or edit page for the task editor. Currently we can delete tasks, complete or incomplete tasks, delete, create tasks, but when we go to edit we have a blank page, so let's fix that. So the first thing we want to do is we want to open the task editor.vue file. And we went ahead and gave it a class container class of task editor, h1 of task editor, and let's also create a backlink so you can actually go back to the you can go back one page instead of clicking on the back button in the browser. So we're going to do router link back. And remember, you have to have the 2 all the time. You can't wait until later to put this in, or else the code is not going to work. So do that. And class of button and button primary just to give us a basic look. Back, edit, back, edit, and we have the task ID, which we're going to get from the query parameter from the URL in a bit. And I'm also going to get rid of this border that we have. I think I created that earlier to show you guys what the border looks like, just to show you the margins on the side. So I'm going to delete that from Bootstrap. It's an app.vue file. It was in this main div container container div. So I'm going to do that. Go back to task editor. And we're going to go ahead and create a form. So form, and instead of action, we're going to use Vue submit. So on submit, we want to prevent it from reloading the page, and instead we want to run the function called update task, which we're going to create in a bit. So here we're going to create inside the form, we're going to create a form group class for a group part of the form. And we're going to create a label for task description, and this is going to be task description. And we're going to have an input tag of text. ID is going to be task description. Class is going to be form control. And placeholder is going to be add new task description here, and it's going to be required. And we're also going to have a V model. We're going to bind it to a variable called task description, like so. Inside export default down below, we're going to do Vue composition API setup, and then return, and we're going to do task description here, but we're not going to add that in yet, because if we do, we get an error, but we're going to add that in later, so I'm just going to comment that out for now. And for now we focus on the task form. So we have this part, and we're going to create the next part. So we're going to again do form group, form group, and also do form check. I forgot what form check does, but I did use it, so let's just check what that was about. Let's try form check. Form check, I think you just use that when you have a check area, because all the checkboxes usually have the same area value. So I'm gonna let's see what happens if we don't use that. And inside we're gonna do type checkbox v model task completed. ID is gonna be task completion status. Class of form check input, see, I think we have to have the form check here in order to have that working. Let's just check if that makes a difference. Yeah, we have to have the form check in order for the checkbox to properly format. So you do need the form check here, and then the form check input is gonna do some additional formatting based on this right here. And then we're going to say normally this is where you would say value and then you do something like completed to make sure this has a given value that it's gonna input into the form when it submits. But since we're using a Vue, we can do vModel and just use task completed here, which we're gonna use down below here as well. But I'm going to also comment that out since we don't want to get an error at the moment. So do that, and also give it a label. Refresh the page just to make sure everything's showing, and create a label and for task completion status. Give it a class of form check label, and it's going to be labeled completed. So that's for this right here, and that's gonna be completed or incompleted, checked or unchecked depending on whether it's completed or not. And then and I think I have, yeah, I added that down there. So now next we're gonna do another form root, then do a label, and it's gonna be a task creation date. This is not going to change any data in the form. It's just to, it's not to handle any input in the form. It's just to show the creation time in a neat way, just to give some added detail of the task we're editing at the moment. So we're going to use a variable called task creation date and time of day. Add this down here as well, and then comment that out since I don't want an error. Once again, if I don't comment it out, get an error of this variable is not defined, so I don't want that right now, so I'm just going to comment that out. And then finally we want a submit button, so let's do that. Submit button is going to be called update, type submit, and class is going to be button success. And that should be the end of our form, and that's what it's going to look like. Very basic. And then we're going to, first thing we want to do is we want to have a function called const get task. So we want to get the task based on the ID we have up here. So this function is going to go to tasks collection.doc and get it. So we want to define task collection. So const task collection is going to be equal to db collection tasks. Remember, if we go to Firebase, and go to console, and I'm using this one right here at the moment, and Firestore. So we have this one right here, and that's this one right here. It's gonna be martial arts practice, and we have a task collection called tasks, and we have documents inside this collection called tasks. So that's where the collection tasks come in. It's like a database, and then we have tables inside the database, and then we have rows of data inside the database. So this is like database name called tasks. And then we actually have to import the DB from Firebase again, like we did in the other files, the other Vue component files. So we're going to do import DB from Firebase, which is right here, as you can see, this file right here. So once we get this one, we want to do task ID, because we want to get, for example, we want to get specifically this one with the martial arts practice one, this the document with this ID. So after we get that, we want to do get, and then we want to run a promise here. So to get the task ID, we have to get it from the URL, which is at the top here. This is the task ID. So to do that, we have to use another import from Vue called Vue3. So I'm going to go here and say import Vue3, and from Vue router. And once we got Vue router there, we want to go here and say const root is equal to use root, and then we want to do const task ID is equal to root query.task ID. So if we do a console log task ID, and let's comment that out for now, comment this out for now, comment this out for now, so we don't get an error. Refresh the page, go to inspect console log. We get this ID right here, line task editor.view, line 32. Line 32, we get task ID, and that's the task ID that we're looking for. It's LNFOA martial arts. So that's how you do that. I'm gonna console log this out, and then console log this back in since we're actually gonna use it. And then we're going to use doc if document exists, and then else if it doesn't exist, we want to do console log no such document found. But if it does exist, we want to so let's see what we get when we do console log doc data. Get task is assigned value but never used. We have to actually use it, so let's actually run this part of the code. Let's do on unmounted get task on unmounted, oops, to close that parentheses. Then up top here, we want to do import on unmounted from Vue, like so. Then if we go to inspect console log, we get an object here from line 37, console log.data, line 37, object, and then we have completed, creation date, and description, and we have all these datas inserted inside here. So I'm going to exit out of that. So now that I know that we get those data, I'm going to console log that, comment that out, and go to task description.value is equal to doc data.description, and let's actually add this constant in as well so we can actually use this. So const task description is equal to, we want to be able to create a updatable constant value, updatable reactive variable. So we're going to do ref, and task description is going to be initially empty, but we want to be able to populate it with the data that we get from the Firestore database. So we're going to use ref. There's a difference between using ref versus reactive. We're going to use ref here. I forgot exactly why, but they are similar. Ref is more encompassing of reactive because ref references the reactive function. But sometimes you might, if you look closely into it, you might sometimes want to use reactive alone. You can check out the Vue documentation, Vue3 documentation, to see exactly which cases are the use scenarios, or I think I saw answer on Stack Overflow. But anyhow, that's the difference between, there is a difference between ref and reactive. So once we got that, I want to go ahead and create another one for task completed value. And once again, we can't actually edit the task completed or that task description variables because we're defining them as constants, but we can update the value property of the task completed object in the task description object, and that's what we're doing here. We're doing the value is equal to doc data dot completed, and let's add that here as well. Task completed is equal to, and this is a Boolean value of true or false, but we're gonna start it out with null when the page first loads, and then it's gonna populate it with the correct data from the database once it goes through the unmounted get task function. And then, and we have to define it as const. And then next we're gonna do another const task creation date and time of day is equal to ref, and we're gonna set that to 0. So that's back in 1970s, I think. That's when the Unix timestamp is referencing when it's a 0, and then it's gonna populate it with the correct Unix timestamp. So here we're gonna do a little more lengthy one. Task creation time of day dot value is equal to new date. And inside the date, we're going to get the doc data dot creation time. And then we're going to change that to local time string. Local time string. And we're going to do English US. And here we're going to do month is equal to long form, so month it's going to be the long alphabetical form. Year is going to be numeric, and day is going to be numeric as well. Perfect. Now we're going to do a catch statement. So this if else statement works, and then if the document is not there, we want to do catch error console log error getting document, and then the error message. Refresh the page. Let's see, something's not working. Let's, oh, misspelled that. Catch. Perfect. Now we get these three values. So let's go ahead and uncomment these out. Let's see. So we have martial arts practice. Completed is incomplete. So if you go back, martial arts practice is not completed. But if we go back, click on that and complete it, and then go to edit, it's check marked as completed. And then task creation date is March 26, 2021, 9:16 p.m. That's the date that I'm creating this tutorial on. So now that we got that done, we want to be able to update the task. So at the top, I think we'd have the update task function, which we're gonna create right here. Update task. And down here, we're going to create a function, const update task is equal to arrow function tasks collection dot doc task ID, get it, get the document, then run another promise. So doc if doc exists, then we want to run this, then else want to run console.log no such document. But if the document does exist, we want to say this is how we update a pre-existing value in the Firestore database. We go doc.ref and then the update function from Firestore or Firebase. And then go description is going to be task description dot value, and completed is going to be task completed dot value. And then we're going to do, if that is successful, we want to do console log tasks successfully updated. And then we want to go back to the main homepage automatically on refresh, on a form submit, not refresh. So we go router push, and then to the homepage. And we have to use the router function from Vue3. So we have to do import router from router. So let's see, I think that's almost done. And then if we do this, and then if that's all successful, or if that doesn't work, we want to do a catch error statement once again. So catch error console.log no such, oops, not no such document, I meant error updating task, and then the error message. Perfect, so I think that's done. So if we do completed becomes uncompleted, and then if we go back to edit, then completed becomes completed, and then we can do, and also by milk update, also by milk. If we uncompleted but just hit back, it's not gonna it's not gonna change the completion status. So that's basically how you create a to-do app using Vue.js, Vue3, Composition API, and Vue3, and Firestore, Firebase. So I hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial. Once again, if you want the source code for it, it's on Patreon. And I hope you guys enjoy this tutorial. If you have any tutorial requests that you specifically have, please leave it down in the comment section below. And I'll see you guys in my next video. Thank you for watching. Bye.